in real life in Tibet where people are dying. In Tibet there's no freedom of the press, freedom of association. There's no third-party protection for Tibetans. Tibetans in Canada are fearful of calling families with IDD lines because the lines may be tapped and to be drawing unnecessary attention to their families. In Canada we have the right to peaceful protest. Chinese visa students who are waving Chinese flags at Dundas Square this afternoon. Could international students or Canadian international students do the same in Tiananmen Square? Since June 1989, the Chinese government has been rolling out a worldwide campaign to erase memories of the June 4th massacre. Influence the Chinese press is part of that plan. The Chinese press in Canada is increasingly acting with an independent voice, but at the same time it's still acting upon old loyalties to the Beijing government as well as to sympathies of the Beijing regime. The Olympics is also part of that master plan. China has embarked on an aggressive political strategy of panda bear politics, marketing a friendly, warmer, cuddlier China ready to give the world a big hug with its We Love China campaign. Last week, Chinese Ambassador Liu Shimian held a rare press conference in Ottawa criticizing His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Would the Chinese government let anyone, let alone Canada's ambassador to China, address the world from Tiananmen Square? These tactics are typical of the Chinese government. The Chinese government's crackdown on Tibetan protesters is copies from the script of the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre. Then, as now, ordinary people stood up against the regime calling for freedom and democracy. The Chinese government response to Tibet is the same as it was in 1989. A 21 most wanted list, arbitrary detention, false promises of leniency, flooding the capital city with Chinese soldiers, shooting protesters, news blackouts. Today with Tibet, as it did with June 4th, China is spreading misinformation. China pretends that it didn't attack people. The so-called troublemakers are stirring up strife, that Chinese and Tibetans don't get along, and they want the world desperately to believe this. History tells us that in 1936, with the Berlin Olympics, the world stood by and said nothing. If it does the same with the Beijing Olympics, history is destined to repeat itself. And this is what I want to say. Patty. We are Chinese, and we believe in a free Tibet! Free Tibet!
The next speaker